Hey everyone, hey everyone. This is about to be a short series. It's going to have its own playlist, and it is very important that you just kind of stay through and listen to me as I give you some tidbits here. Now, as you see, this is called Royalty Vendor Edition. And the reason why I have done this is because I know a lady who has two or three vendor events every year, and all of the vendors never know what to do. I'm sorry, they just don't. Now, back in 2000, 1999, 2000, I presented or hosted a lot of business networking events where it was really geared towards the vendors getting their visibility besides networking with people that came in, any speakers or anything like that. It was very important to have the vendors there to make some money. This is how I ended up becoming a coach. It's a long story, but nonetheless. I decided that about a month ago that I was going to create this teaching for vendors how to be in authentic, audacious, royal vendor. Goes with the brand. So bear with me. And while I'm finishing up the book, while I'm trying to schedule dates, this question came up on social media. This woman said, event planners, what if you created in your budget to, have a space for vendors where you paid the vendors to attend instead of the vendors paying to attend, basically. This way, the vendors aren't so stressed out. The tidbits is the vendors aren't stressed out. Long story short, basically you pay for these people to come. And my first thought as an event planner and as a former vendor, because I no longer vend, I said, but if vendors are paying for advertising back in the day, dun, 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 you would pay for being on air, putting your website in a local newspaper or a news magazine or whatnot, or what, sometimes you paid for advertising in online magazines or online people who offered online advertising for your business. You paid for that. As a business, you paid for that. Businesses right now, they pay for that. Anyone who watched the recent Super Bowl paid millions of dollars for a 30 to 60-second slot in the Super Bowl. Millions of dollars, okay? Thousands, millions. They paid well over what we pay as small business owners. So my first slap in the face was, being a vendor, you're advertising your business. So why am I paying you to advertise your business? So here's my teachable moment that I'm going to put, and I'll talk about this shortly, but here's my teachable moment for that. If you have a business, and whether it's a luxury brand, you're building the brand, you're just starting off, you're a baker, whatever, when you have a business, even if you just post on social media, you're paying in your time, okay, to present and to advertise your business one so that you can make some money, right? So you have to put a little bit of something out there in order to make the money. So my thought is, why in the world would I want to pay you to be at my event when you could make whatever your vendor fee is back in what you are passionate about selling, have love dwelled into what you're creating and selling? Why would I do that? Now, it mind you, it's not being selfish, it's being strategic, and it makes sense. If you pay for advertising, whether that's in time or money, to present your business, why am I paying you to present your business? I'm not getting any money back on that. I'm not getting any money back on that, which means there's a whole nother step to that, and that can be talked about in another video. But event planners, chime in, chime in, because I'm saying, now we have had, I've been part of this one particular lady who has like 3 or 4 events a year. She may not charge for vendors to be at her event because the other people, there is no ticket fee. That's what I'm trying to get to. So sorry. There isn't a ticket fee for people to attend those events either. But in the process of being a vendor, there's still components missing, which I talk about in my vendor event, my being the royal vendor, basically the royal guide to being an authentic vendor, um, which is coming up hopefully before the end of this first quarter. If not, it'll be the beginning of second quarter. I'm still working on some dates, but I'm going to teach about that. And why do I feel like I'm an expert in teaching about that? Let me tell you why. Because back in 1999, when I first started in business, I hosted various business networking events, and I made the vendor fee low enough so that even with one product, the vendors could at least get the return on their investment. And anything on top of that was extra. But there was more to it than just the vendor fee as a host. There was marketing. There was a place, you had to pay for the place and all those different things. There was something that had to be done that costs money to do. But as a vendor, and let me say that, being an event planner, basically my business at the time was Essence of a Woman, ESSENCE, an acronym of a woman events, basically was the vendor. The vendor how? I'm putting on this event. I'm showing you how I can put on events. I'm showing you how I include other small business owners while I'm hosting these events. So again, that's a whole nother teaching moment, but I wanted to share that with you guys today. This one particular question, because as a vendor, as a person who has a product, and mind you, let me see if I can find it. Which I but let's just use it as an example. I do sell lotions, but this is just an example. If I sell lotion, okay, my vendor fee is 30, anywhere between 35 and $55. And I sell this lotion a little bigger than this, but I sell this lotion, let's just say this one for $2. Okay. And I need how many of these things do I need to sell in order to get my $35 vendor fee back? That is what I do on the back end as a vendor, so that I know if I'm taking this lotion in here, this is what I know I need to sell. Otherwise, I'm having a raffle. It might be a $2 to $5 raffle. Something that's going to help me to get my return on investment as well as get new clients for what I make. Now, the lotions and lip glosses and all those things I hand make. I'm going to be promoting my business at this event, attempting to sell all that I need to sell, one, to get my return on investment, and two, to get new clients. It all comes down to being the person you need to be, and that's the business owner, not the person who's worried about what they're spending, but being the business owner. So yes, event planners, chime in. Hey, if I'm wrong to you, I completely understand. If this is something that you do as an event planner, yeah, they can come in for free, but we're going to have the conversation about I get a percentage of your sales, or and not even come in for free, but I'm going to pay you to come in. That means I get a percentage of your sales. Again, that's a whole nother conversation. We won't have that here. Maybe I'll do that in the next video. But nonetheless, chime in, because a lot of us, especially in the day and age of social media, we don't really know how to be vendors. I do, but you don't know how to be vendors. And it's time you learned. Have a good day.